Did you know that college costs have outpaced inflation almost 2-to-1 over the past 20 years? Whether you have a newborn or someone who is about to enter college, college requires enough assets that you have to be very intentional in how you approach savings and how you are spending your hard-earned dollars. Before we dive into the different ways that you can save for college, it's important to understand two concepts. The first is having a good grasp on your personal finances. This means making sure that your house, your foundation is strong. We have all heard of the classic, put on your own oxygen mask before helping your neighbor when we are on a flight. The same is true when it comes to college planning. You can always take a loan out for college, but you cannot take a loan out for retirement. While it's important to plan for your child's educational needs, it's imperative to have a strong foundation in your financial plan. This includes having an emergency reserve, having your debt under control, and understanding the risks that could significantly derail you or your family from achieving success. This includes dying too soon or getting sick or hurt along the way. Funding a 529 plan should not come at the expense of funding any of your retirement vehicles. When it comes to planning for college, it is important to know and to define what your values are. There is no right or wrong way to do this. What we advise our clients to do is to take a deep assessment or to figure out what's important to them. Do you want to have 100% of college funded for? Do you want to have 75% or 50%, right? Do you want your kids to have some skin in the game? Are you willing to only cover public universities? Are you willing to cover private universities? Ultimately, these are conversations that you and your spouse need to have to make sure that you guys are both on the same page, but also so that we have a defined target that we can then back into. I believe the best way to save for college is by having flexibility in your plan. Life is not linear, so your plan shouldn't be linear, right? There are different avenues you can pursue. I would suggest the first avenue we look at would be a classic 529 plan. It is a qualified account that gives you tax-deferred growth and tax-free distributions when you're using those funds for qualified education expenses. There's two different ways to access them. You can go directly with the state, or you can go through your advisor. There are two different types of 529 plans. The less common of the 529 plans is the prepaid tuition plan. This has been rebranded as the tuition track portfolio. Prepaid tuition plans allow families to pay tuition ahead of time for specific colleges or college systems at today's tuition rates. You simply buy units. 100 units equals 1 year of that current year's average tuition. The new benefit of this program is that funds can be used for colleges outside of Virginia. However, you need to be a resident in the state to take advantage of this. The other consideration is that units must be held for at least 3 years. This type of plan is probably better for someone who is more adverse to market volatility. On the other hand, the more commonly used 529 plan that we see is your basic education savings plan. This functions very similar to a brokerage or investment account that you might already own. You can invest in the market through mutual funds, fixed income, and ETFs. This is better for someone who can stomach market volatility and who understands that there's likely more growth potential in the long term. Clients often ask, what happens if I overfund a 529, or what happens if my child does not go to college? Those are very important and realistic questions to ask. Number one, there is no use it or lose it feature. Any amount that you yourself have put in, we'll call that basis, you can get that back tax-free and penalty-free. However, any earnings that have not been taxed will likely have a 10% penalty and they will be taxed. There are certain situations in which the 10% penalty does not apply. Those are death, disability, and scholarship. If it's not a use it or lose it, we often get asked, should I max out my 529 plan? We generally don't recommend that you do so. While these can be great vehicles to grow wealth and defer taxes, that often means there are golden handcuffs. And to elaborate on that, if you use these funds for non-education expense, That means there might be a 10% penalty plus taxes on the growth. You can always get your basis out, which is the amount that you've put in, but that remaining amount will have penalties. A taxable brokerage account is often an account that is not incorporated into someone's planning. We are so focused on these long-term goals, such as retirement, and having our short-term reserves set aside, that this midterm category often gets overlooked. But in my opinion, having this type of account on your balance sheet is critical. There are no special tax treatments, but it is the most flexible account. The IRS can never force you to take money out of this account, and there are no penalties or rules if you access it before 59 and a half. It is one of the most flexible accounts that are available to you. Clients ask us if they can use their IRA to help cover eligible education expenses, and the answer is yes. You can use retirement to cover education expenses. Normally, if you are taking funds out of an IRA before age 59 and a half, there is a 10% penalty. However, for qualified education expenses, this penalty does not apply. With that being said, we don't typically recommend this. At the end of the day, your IRA is designed to not only get you to retirement, but to help you last through your retirement. Furthermore, you typically need funds for college before your retirement date. Therefore, the underlying investment strategy inside of your IRA may not coincide with the timing of when you need those assets to fund college. That is why we like keeping these completely separate. People also often ask us about cash value life insurance and the concept of being your own bank. For the purpose of education funding, we often find that the 529 tends to be a little bit more efficient in terms of growth potential. The reason for this is with a permanent life insurance policy, you pay a premium. A part of that premium is directed towards the insurance coverage, and then the delta is then invested for you. In order to amass a decent amount of cash, you need to be funding this at a proper level. We often see social media influencers talking about these strategies, but it's really important to understand the cost structure so you can make the best decision for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We are here to be a resource, and we are here to advocate for you and your family.